July of 2019 is where my experience with MAS began. I first noticed a sore throat, and that wasn't unusual for me, so I didn't think too much of it. But the next day, I noticed a rash on my body. And so I sought treatment as that was unusual. I was prescribed a 10-day course of prednisone. So despite the medication, the rash continued to intensify. And from there, symptoms continued to appear. I became very sleepy. Pain had spread throughout my body, especially my knees and my wrists. I developed daily fevers and then chills that were so severe that I would shake violently. I would try to get warm in a scalding shower, but it provided little relief. And by that point, I was so weak, my husband had to carry me to the shower. My family grew increasingly concerned, and along with the prednisone course, I had also sought intervention at an emergency room, but I was sent home to treat my symptoms with over-the-counter pain and fever medication. From there, my condition deteriorated rapidly, and after another week, my husband decided we should try another hospital. At this hospital, they decided to do some imaging and saw that some of my organs were enlarged. That's when they decided that they should admit me because they thought the problem was a kidney infection. This began the detective work on my mysterious case of symptoms. Every day I laid in a hospital bed in pain, weak and exhausted. Trying to speak left me out of breath. Additional scans showed my liver and spleen were also enlarged. Each morning, I would have a batch of blood draws for them to test every type of infection that they could think of. When this hospital was out of ideas, I was transferred to another hospital where the battery of tests continued. I was fortunate that this hospital had seen this condition before, and they were able to narrow down a hypothesis pretty quickly after I arrived. They told me that they suspected adult onset Still's disease with macrophage activation syndrome. My blood markers indicated high CRP and ferritin levels, and my symptoms aligned really closely with this diagnosis. One of the final tests to confirm was to see how I responded to treatment. So I received a dose of Kineret, and it was the first time since the onset that my fever disappeared. I received the biologic for 3 days in the hospital, which allowed me to be discharged. However, the insurance company would only pay for inpatient treatment, and without it, my condition worsened again. So insurance required that I try and ultimately fail 2 additional treatment plans before they would cover it again. Once I was able to resume the Kineret, I continued to see improvement over the next several months, and it was about 2 years before I fully recovered.